Hare Krishna Mataji and Vat Pranams.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavata Pranams.
Mataji, I've already started live. Shall I start recording?
Yes, Mataji. We'll get started with the prayers. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are continuing our session of the Valmiki Ramayana, and we have completed Balakand. We are going to move into Ayodhya Kand now, and we have completed 6 sessions in Balakand, and each of these sessions are 1.5 hours long. So if you have not caught up with these 6 sessions, highly recommend that you catch up with these sessions so you can understand the flow of the Ramayana. Ramayana is very, very beautiful. It is very beautifully composed by Valmiki and presented to us so nicely. So it'll be nice to read it in the order of the events that had happened. So please do catch up with the 6 sessions of the Balakand that we have covered so far. So today we will move ahead and we will move to Ayodhya Kand. Okay, and I'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे prayers to Valmiki, Hanuman and Lord Sri Ramachandra. Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Valmikir Munisamhasya Kavitavanacharina Shrinvan Ramakathanadam Konayate Parangatim Vedavedye Parepumse Jate Dasharatatmaje Veda Pracheta Sat Asit Sakshat Ramayana Atmanaha Anjananandanam Veeram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapishamakshahantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरुमूलवासिनं भावयामि भवमानन्दनं यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् जयत्राश्रित संत्रास ध्वांत विद्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योम भास्करः श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम नाम वरदामि Hare Krishna. So we saw the Balakanda in 6 sessions, as I mentioned earlier. And the Balakanda, the essence of the Balakanda is that the Supreme Lord is Lord Rama. That was the essence that we saw in Balakanda. Specifically, the Lord who is the husband of the goddess of fortune is the Supreme Lord. That is conveyed in the Balakanda, which is Shriyapati, the Pati of goddess Shri, is actually the Supreme. That is what was conveyed at the end of Balakanda. So what are the different events that we saw? We saw how Valmiki Muni began to write the Ramayana inspired by Narad Muni, and then how he taught the beautiful epic to the 2 sons, Lava and Kusha. How Kusha and Lava, they take on the teachings of Valmiki Muni, and they go to different places in Ayodhya and nearby places, and they begin to describe the glorious pastimes of Lord Ram. They are eventually invited to the palace of Lord Ramachandra, where they recite the entire Ramayana. And beginning with a description of the land of Ayodhya, the people of Ayodhya, and so on, they go on to describe the glorious birth of Lord Ramachandra, especially about the Putra Kameshti Yajna, how Lord Ram, along with his brothers, were born to the respective wives of Dasharath, and then how they grew up, and quickly 12 years went by, how Lord Rama and Lakshmana were taken along by Vishwamitra to the forest so that they could guard the sacrifices that Vishwamitra was doing, how Tataka was killed, how Subahu was killed, how Maricha was driven away, and then finally they moved on and they went to this outskirts of Mithila where Ahalya was delivered, and then they go on to Mithila, and there we see the raising of the bow by Lord Ramachandra. He lifts the bow, he strings it, and he breaks it. And as a Virya Shulka, Sita is actually won because of him stringing the bow. And there is the beautiful marriage ceremony of Sita Devi and Lord Ramachandra. They are married together, and then when they proceed back to Ayodhya, that time they see bad omens, and the entry of Parashuram is seen, and Parashuram's Garva Bhanga, which is the breaking of Parashurama's pride, takes place. And after that, the divine couples they go back to Ayodhya, and Bharata's uncle Yudhajit, who is actually the son of Kekeya Raj, he actually comes and he asks for Bharata to be taken by him. And because Bharata goes Shatrughna, there's an indication in the Balakand that Shatrughna also goes. And after that, Lakshmana and Ramchandra, they continue to live in Ayodhya. Sita is the perfect wife for Lord Ram, and Ram is the perfect husband for Sita. But of course, Sita always scores higher. So we saw all of that. And they lived very, very happily. And this went on for almost 12 years. So now we will enter Ayodhya Kand. Like we had mentioned earlier, that the commentators mentioned that the essence of the Balakand is to point out that Shriyapati is the supreme person. Similarly, here in the Ayodhya Kand, the essence of the Ayodhya Kand is nothing but the description of the Lord's glorious qualities. So we saw a list of Lord's glorious 16 qualities that is mentioned in Balakand. In this Ayodhya Kand, the Lord's glories are in detail described through his behavior. What all he does, he exemplifies the different glorious qualities that were mentioned earlier throughout the Ayodhya Kand. Right from the first chapter, we see how he displayed all these wonderful qualities and won the hearts of all the people around him, not only the citizens, but his relatives, his friends, everybody. He won the heart of everybody. So that is the essence of Ayodhya Kand as pointed out by the Acharya's commentaries. So now we will head into Ayodhya Kand. Ayodhya Kand has a very, very beautiful beginning. It's a very famous verse that is often chanted, and this verse is in glorification of Shatrughna. We generally hear a lot of stories about Rama. We hear about Lakshmana. We hear about Bharata also, about the great sacrifices that Bharata did, how Bharata lived in Nandigram in separation from Lord Rama. But we never hear much about Shatrughna. But this verse just shows how important Shatrughna was and how much we can learn from Shatrughna. So the very first verse of the Ayodhya Kanda goes like this. I will recite this, then in future verses I will again ask for volunteers. So the verse goes like this. It is Gachata Matula Kulam Bharatena Tada Anagha Shatrughno Nitya Shatrughno Nitaha Preethi Puraskrita. So Gachata Matula Kulam. So two of them, who's Bharata and Shatrughna, they went to Matula Kulam. Matula means mama, that is mother's brother, is mama. So who's mama? Bharata's mama, because this is the son of Kekeya Raja, who's Yudhajit. So Gachata Matulakulam, the Matulam is only, Matula is only for Bharata, not for Shatrughna. Technically, Shatrughna's Matula would be Sumitra's brother. Okay, but such a mention is not there. This is specifically Bharata's Matula. Bharatena, along with Bharata, Tadanagha, Tada, immediately, along with Bharata, immediately, who went? Anagha went. Anagha, you all know from Bhagavad Gita. Anagha means, oh sinless one. Krishna calls Arjun Anagha. So here in the Valmiki Ramayana, we have Shatrughna being called as Anagha. So why Anagha? Because he was sinless. He even resisted direct service to Lord Ram. Actually, the greatest, of course, we all perform many sins with our flawed senses. We end up performing so many different sins, knowingly or unknowingly, in our lives. But sometimes, for a devotee, what becomes the greatest sin is that for a devotee, when he thinks that he can directly serve the Lord without the intervention of an authorized representative like one's guru, is considered the greatest sin. So, here, according to the Acharya's commentaries, Shatrughna is called as Anagha. He's called as Anagha because he was so sinless that even the sin that a devotee naturally performs from time to time, directly approaching the Lord, even that he did not. He always engaged in the service of Bharata, who's a devotee of Lord Ram. So his name is Shatrughna. Who's this Anagha? Who went with this Bharata? The one who went with Bharat is Shatrughna. What is the meaning of Shatrughna? Shatrughna means one who has conquered his enemies, Shatrughna. And we already discussed which are the greatest enemies: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. Nitya Shatrughna. The next word is Nitya Shatrughna. So Shatrughna, Nitya Shatrughna. That means this Shatrughna who has conquered the eternal enemies. Okay. So already we know Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya is our enemy. But what is the true eternal enemy that we are carrying with us all the time? It is our senses. Our senses are always wandering in different directions and they are going after the sense object. So we're constantly having it with us. Sometimes anger can come, sometimes it can vanish. Sometimes you may have lobh, sometimes you may not have it. But then the senses that we are born with it and we have to deal with it, right? So this Shatrughna, he conquered the Nitya Shatru, which is our senses. And for a devotee, what happens? The senses, we are told from day one that we should not engage too much in sense gratification. Rather, we should use our senses in the service of the Lord. That is what we are taught. And all of us are doing that, right? We are engaging our eyes as much as we can. We may not be perfect, but as much as we can, we are engaging our ears in hearing Krishna Katha, our eyes in seeing the form of the deity, our tongue in speaking Krishna Katha. We're trying our best, chanting the holy names. Like this, we are engaging our senses. But then it is interesting that the devotee is engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. But our Shatrughna has gone one step further. According to him, engaging your senses in absorption of the Lord is also a sin. Okay. He goes one step further and he engages his senses not in the ravishing beauty of Lord Ram. See, if Ramchandra is in front of us, our senses will be engaged in looking at Lord Ram. We will not be engaged in doing something else. Our senses will be engaged in smelling the flowers that Lord Ram has actually worn, the garland that he has worn. So we would want, especially if we have the opportunity to have Lord Ram right next to us, how will we all behave as devotees? It is only normal for us to be attracted to the Lord automatically, and we will behave normally. We will go after the Lord and we will try to engage our senses in the service of the Lord because that's how we are trained. But then Shatrughna goes one step further. The greatest attraction was right in front of him. Lord Rama was the most attractive. Who can resist the beauty of the Lord? Who can resist being around the Lord? The greatest of the attractions was right in front of him. And he withdrew his senses from the Lord and he was investing his senses in Vaishnav Seva. He was involving his senses only in the service of the servant of the Lord. Now, that is true engagement, say the commentators. So, that is the Nitya Shatrughna. That is, he has truly conquered the eternal Shatrus that we have, which is the senses. And the next word is Nita. Nita means to be taken along. See, when Bharata went to Matulakulam, when he went to his uncle's house, at that time, it is not mentioned in this verse that Shatrughna went along. Ideally, if you have a brother and you're going somewhere, you will take your brother along, right? That's how the verse should be formed. But then this verse says, Nita Preeti Puraskrita. Nita means it was just taken along. Shatrughna was like an object. Okay, just like when I am going, I will wear my dress and go. I will take my baggage and go. So I don't have to make, because it belongs to me, right? It's not like when I'm going, I'm buying a ticket for myself and I have to buy a separate ticket for my clothes or a separate ticket for my baggage. The rest of this belonged to me, so I take it along. So, like that, when Bharata was ready to go to Shatrughna's, his uncle's house, KK Adesh, at that time, Shatrughna, like a property, was just taken along. And the commentators write that for Bharata, they had actually seen, okay, this nakshatra is good. Oh, Bharata, you're born in Pushya nakshatra. So maybe Hasta nakshatra is good for you for travel, okay, as per astrology. But they did not even see a specific day or date or nakshatra for Shatrughna because Shatrughna was almost like the property of Bharata. So, irrespective of whether it suited his travel date or not, he was just taken along. Nita. Okay, so he was taken along. Now, when our objects are coming with us, for example, our clothes, our baggage, they are not going to be very loving to us, right? Because it is an insentient object, it is a non living thing. Obviously, it's not going to show us love and affection and all that. We may love our clothes, but our clothes is not going to show love and affection to us. But here, Shatrughna went Preeti Puraskrita. He went with so much love. He was taken along like one's property, but he was full of love that he was serving exactly as per as the desire of Bharata. Now, when we take our luggage, sometimes there is a tear in the zip. We are not able to close it. It's not going to behave like the way we want it to behave, obviously. But then here, Shatrughna, he served and he behaved with lot of love as per the desire as Bharata. So he's called as Preeti Puraskrita. He went out of lot of love. And not only that, he had another thought in his mind, Shatrughna. Why he went with so much love, with so much affection? Because he was thinking, he was very excited. Because he was thinking, if I'm here in Ayodhya, I have to serve everybody. There'll be a lot of diversions. Though I'm completely sold out to Bharata, I just want to be with him all the time. Still, there are so many relatives of mine, constant distractions. But then, if I go to KK Adesh, which is the exclusive place of Bharata, which is Bharata's relative's house, there I can focus all my services only in serving Bharata. So I can exclusively serve Bharata. So that was the mood in which this Anagha went. So it's a very, actually, this commentary goes on for several pages, but I've tried to shrink it as much as possible. So I will chant the verse again. It is Gachata Matulakulam Bharatena Tata Anaga Shatrughno Nitya Shatrughno Nita Preeti Puraskrita. So Bharata and Shatrughna, they went away to Yudhachit's house or Kekeyadesh. Now, they went away for many years, it is mentioned. Okay? Now, one may ask, how did Bharata manage to stay for so many years in Ashwapati's house? Ashwapati is KK Raja's name is Ashwapati, who is the father of Yudhajit and Kaikeyi. His name is Ashwapati. Now, how did Bharata manage to stay there for so many years so comfortably? Now, Bharata is a servant of Lord Rama. Didn't he miss Lord Rama? Okay, Shatrughna didn't miss Rama, but did Bharata also not miss Rama? The answer given is Bharata remained there for many, many years because he was very happy that Ashwapati was taking very good care of Ram's favorite brother. Now, who is Ram's favorite brother? The favorite of the Lord always is the servant of the servant of the servant of devotees. So Ramachandra's favorite brother was Shatrughna. Why was Shatrughna Rama's favorite brother? Shatrughna was Rama's favorite brother because he was not engaged in the direct service of Ram, but he was engaged in the service of Bharata. So Ramachandra liked Shatrughna the best. Now, Bharata was staying in Kekeyadesh because Rama's favorite brother, Bharata is a servant of Ram, right? So he was thinking, oh, Ram's favorite brother is so well taken care of Yudhajit and Ashwapati. So he was very impressed with the way his grandfather and his uncle were taking care of Shatrughna. So Bharata was definitely feeling separation from Rama and Dasharatha, and the vice versa as well. Even Dasharath was feeling separation from Shatrughna and Bharata, but still Bharata decided to stay there for long enough, keeping Shatrughna with him. This Bharata and Shatrughna, they are described as Mahendra and Varuna. That is the kind of friendship they had. Mahendra is Indra and Varuna is Varunadev, the Lord of Waters. Now, when we say that we need rains, whom do we invoke? We invoke Indra, right, for rains. So, Indra and Varuna, who's the Lord of rains, both of them are almost like uh, uh, what do you say, synonymous, sorry. Both of them are used in place of each other. Sometimes we say we do this yajna for Indra, sometimes we say it is for Varuna. Ultimately, why are we doing that yajna? So that we can get rains, right? So both of them are in charge of waters. Like that, Valmiki Ramayana says that Bharata and Shatrughna, they were like always with each other. The analogy used for Lakshmana and Ramachandra and the Balakanda is that they were like Ashwini Kumaras. They were always together. They were always in each other's service. They were never seen separated from each other. So, like that, the analogy given for Bharata Shatrughna is Mahendra and Varuna. So, like this, the true brothers, they stayed in Kekeyadesh. Now, as far as Dasharath was concerned, Valmiki clarifies that for him, all the four sons were very important to him. He loved all the four sons, just like one may, if you have a spiritual body in the spiritual world, you will have four arms like that. Since all the four arms are important for you, like that, Dasharath, he considered his four sons like four arms. Okay. And Ramachandra, he stayed in the kingdom of Dasharath. Okay, now Valmiki, he begins to describe the glorious qualities of Lord Rama when he was staying in the kingdom of Dasharath. How was Lord Ramachandra there? I mean, what kind of qualities did he display? Because as I mentioned earlier, Ayodhya Kanda, the essence of Ayodhya Kanda is the glorious qualities of Lord Rama that is described. So first and foremost thing, Valmiki makes it very clear that the person that I'm going to talk about now is none other than the eternal Vishnu, the Supreme Lord who was born on earth and he came down in the role of a human being for the sake of the Devatas so that he could conquer Ravana. So, first he makes that clear. Then he goes on talking about different qualities, which are the eternal qualities of Vishnu himself. Anyone wants to read this verse? Sahi Daiva Rudirnina.
Mataji, can I read?
Yes. Oh, Gauri Deepak. Maybe next was Gauri Mataji can read. Parima Mataji, you can read this.
Sahi Rudirnasya Ravanasya Vadhartibi Athito Manushe Loke Jagne Vishnu Sanatanaha.
So, Sahi Daiva Viranasya Ravanasya Vadhartibihi. For the sake of Ravana Vadha, like Parima Mataji said, Ravanasya Vadhartibihi, for the sake of the killing of Ravana and for the sake of mitigating the misery of the Devatas, Manushe Loke, the Supreme Lord, he came in Manusha Loke. And who is he? He is Vishnu himself. He is that eternal Vishnu himself. So he has come down here and he was staying in Ayodhya. Now, this Ramachandra, he started exhibiting very, very great qualities, so much so that both his father and mother were very delighted. How were the qualities emanating from Lord Rama? Just like how musk emanates from a musk deer. Now, where is the musk fragrance coming from the deer? It is coming from itself, right? It's not that like for us, we have to go to our dressing room and we have to spray body spray or perfume on us. Then we'll get some fragrance. But Lord Ramachandra, naturally from within it was emanating, just like the musk deer. The musk has an intoxicating fragrance that is there within itself. Like that, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is the abode of all the glorious qualities, had come down as Lord Ramachandra, and Ramachandra was emanating all these beautiful qualities. How were the qualities? He was always very peaceful in mind. He spoke very softly. His words were never rough. He did not even react to harsh words that were spoken by others. He took everything in a very gentle way. He spoke in a gentle way, and even if somebody actually said some harsh words, it did not bother him. Because of his good bent of mind, he used to feel glad by anything that was done to him. That is, whether you do good or you do bad, he saw only good in it. And he used to feel happy if someone did anything for him. He did not remember any bad things that were done to him. So, our tendency, yes, I will remember all the bad things that are done to me. I will harbor hate. I will want to take revenge. But Lord Ramachandra, he saw only good. Even if someone did anything bad to him, he forgot about it immediately and he was trying to see good even in that. As a Kshatriya, he would go out and he would practice archery. So, when he would practice archery, if somebody who's senior, who's older to him came, he would immediately stop that and pay respects to that person. Very important quality. Lord Ramachandra would be the first one to initiate a conversation. So sometimes we think ourselves to be very great, very, very important, and others, even if we see others, we refuse to even speak to them, okay, because we think we are so important. But then Lord Ramachandra, he would give a lot of respect to the wise and old, and he would be the first one to initiate a conversation. If an older person came, if a more experienced person came, he would go behind them, fall at their feet, and ask them, "How are you doing? Haribol, hope everything is well with you." He would not expect others to come and ask him. So he loved them so much and they loved him. He had a lot of compassion for everybody, all the living beings. He had conquered anger, Jitakrodha. Remember in the first Balakand, we saw one of the qualities is Jitakrodha, one who has conquered anger. Anger is a natural emotion, but he is wise who has conquered that anger. He is to be very receptive to the worship and worshipful to the wise. So he never ignored anybody, and if there was somebody who was older to him, he would always worship them. He had mercy to the gentle living entities, to the meek living entities, and he knew exactly what had to be done. He had full self-control, and he was very clean in his conduct. He didn't have any scams and nothing on his name. He was a very eloquent in speech. He did not hesitate to speak when needed, and he was very eloquent when he was asked to speak. These are great qualities of a king. He was very dharmic, he was very righteous. He knew what is right and what is wrong. He was scholarly, he had fine speech. He knew the Vedas and Vedangas, and he even knew archery. Even a Kshatriya should be well educated in Vedas and Vedangas. And not only should they know archery, they should also know the scriptures. So he was humble, he was skillful, and he did not let his feelings appear outwardly. This is another great quality of Lord Ramachandra. When Lord Rama was told that this kingdom is for you by his father Dasharath, at that time Lord Rama didn't start partying. Like if I am told, okay, hereafter you're going to be the princess of this entire kingdom, I would be jumping to the sky and I would throw a big party because I would be so excited. And when Ramachandra was told that you have to now go to the forest, the kingdom is not for you, at that time also Ramchandra didn't react. If it were me, I would be crying like anything, right? I would be all tears and I would be constantly blaming the person who's sending me to the forest. But Lord Ramachandra, he never outwardly, unnecessarily displayed these emotions. He was very, very grounded. He gathered his emotions and he didn't unnecessarily display them outwardly to gather attention. So he kept his thoughts to himself. This is another quality. Sometimes so many thoughts are running in our mind, and sometimes we just want to go and blurt it out to somebody, like a dustbin. We treat the other person like a dustbin and we keep talking all our thoughts. But actually, it is not needed because these thoughts, the person in front of us is also not going to hear us. So Ramachandra, he always kept his thoughts to himself. Only where it was necessary, he would speak it out. He helped others. His anger and pleasure were never wasteful. Only where needed, he would get angry, and only where he had to get excited, he would get excited. So he knew when to give and when not to give. He had very good devotion. You see, throughout the Ramayana, he worships the Lord. He worships himself pretty much. He worships Vishnu, who is not different from himself. In different episodes, you will see him in meditation, in worshipping, and so on. He had firm devotion. He had a steadfast mind, and he was not unnecessarily stubborn. It is my way or highway. Such an attitude Lord Ramachandra did not have. He didn't speak evil words. He was free from idleness and he was always alert. Another thing, no laziness in him. He was recognized by everybody, and he knew whom to protect and whom to punish. So if he didn't see mistakes in others, but if there was a mistake that was there, he would gently let them know that this is the mistake and correct them. So he knew science, he knew economics, he knew Rajaniti, he knew arts, he knew how to handle horses, elephants as a Kshatriya. He had no jealousy, he had conquered anger, he had no arrogance, envy. I tell you what, I have just put a few verses. Actually, an entire chapter is just the qualities of Lord Rama, and also Acharyas have written a few commentaries here and there about these different qualities and how it is important for a person to imbibe that. He had not even humiliated one single living being. So he was so respectful to every single living being around him. So these are some of the multitude of qualities that is mentioned in this chapter. I've not written all the qualities, but we can imagine basically Ram was an ideal man. That's why we say Lord Ramachandra is the ideal king, ideal man, ideal husband, everything we attribute it to Lord Rama because he had all these different virtues. And at that time, so 12 years had passed by. It was almost 24. He was almost getting 25. Okay, that was the age he was in. So at that time, what happened? Anyone, Gauri Mataji, you want to read this verse? Atharagnu.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी.
Go ahead.
अथ राज्ञो बभूवैवं वृद्धस्य चिरजीविनः प्रीतिरेषा कथं रामो राजा स्यान्मयि जीवति.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So at that time, Raja, who's the Raja now? Darsharatha. He was thinking, will Rama become the king when I'm still alive? He was thinking with a lot of love. Katam Ramo Raja Syanmai Jivati. When I'm living itself, will Ramachandra become the king and will I retire and enjoy happiness? So he was thinking like that. Now, by now, Dasharath had ruled for 60,000 years. He was 60,000 years old, they say. He had ruled for a very, very, very long time. And he was thinking, now I have a qualified son. He's exhibiting all the wonderful qualities. Will he now be able to take up the kingdom? And will I get the pleasure of seeing my son flourish in front of my eyes before I die? So this was the great desire of Dasharath. This is also the desire of every single father. Every single father wants to see his son successful in front of his eyes and hand over responsibilities to his son. So similarly, Dasharath Maharaj was also thinking, will this ever be possible? I really want to give the kingdom to Lord Ram. So since this thought had come to him, he saw that he had become old. According to other poetic renditions of Ramayana, you must have heard this very famous rendition that he went and he saw that, he had some white hair near his ears. And he thought, oh, I have become old. It's time I give the kingdom to Rama. These are other renditions, but in the Valmiki Ramayana, it just says that he had this thought. So since he had this thought, he called for other kings and officers in the nearby kingdoms who were under the control of Ayodhya. So Ayodhya was a great kingdom that had many small rajas, many small rulers. He called all of them from the nearby cities and villages and all these little kingdoms. And he thought he can send word for his relatives who are the king of Kekeya and the king of Janaka Rajya, who is Sita's father and Kaikeyi's father later, because they are relatives and they can be told later, and they were far away. Both these kingdoms were far away. But however, the smaller kings who were under the control of Ayodhya, he wanted to call all the nearby kings and nearby people so that he can discuss with them and tell them his desire. So he calls all of them and he tells them, I have been ruling this kingdom following the way of my ancestors. My ancestors have handed over this kingdom to me. And the kings of Ayodhya have had such a great history. I have managed, I have tried my best to hold on to this glory and give the best to my citizens. I've lived for 60,000 years, actually. He says, for thousands of years. And now I want to take rest. I want to take away this burden of the kingdom. This kingdom is Rajabharam. It is a very, very heavy burden. It's not easy to be a leader, right? It's not easy to be a king. So he says, I appoint my son. I want to appoint my son. Now, when he said, I want to appoint my son, the citizens were wondering, who is the son that you're talking about? Who is it? Because he has 4 sons. So to clarify that, he says the next verse. I'll just see if someone wants to raise hand. You can just raise hand. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and read the verse.
I can read Mataji.
Yes, go ahead, Karima. Mataji. Tam chandram iva pushyena, from there.
Tam chandramiva pushyena yuktam dharvrata vritavaram yauvarajya niyuktasmi prita purusha pungvagam.
Tam chandrama iva pushyena yuktam. So he says, very soon, when Chandrama, when the moon is with Pushya Nakshatra, at that time, Dharma Brithamvaram, Yauvarajyo, he says, I will give the Yavarajya. Yavarajya means the prince, the crown of the prince, to the one who is full of righteousness. Now, which son, everybody was wondering, right? So he mentions to the son who is full of righteousness, Niyoktasmi Preetaha Purusha Pungavam, to the one who is celebrated as the best among the Purushas, who is Rama. Till now, we saw the different qualities of Ram, right? So he already knew very well that the people in the kingdom know that he is Ramachandra as Purusha Pungavam. Ramachandra is the one who is endowed with all righteousness. So he says, I will on, when the moon is with Pushyami, when the moon is with the Pushya Nakshatra, on that particular day, I have a desire to crown my son as the prince. Which son? The one who is the best among the protectors of righteousness and who's an excellent person. For that boy, I want to crown him. Then he says, Anarupaha Savainatho Lakshmi Van Lakshmana Graja. He calls out who it is. Okay, first he says in a very vague term, the one who's full of righteous qualities. Of course, everyone would have guessed who it is. But then he makes it very clear. He says, Anarupaha sa Vainatho Lakshmivan Lakshmanagrajaha. Who is Lakshmanagraja? It can be only Rama. Because Rama is the only one who was older than Lakshmana at this point in time, or all point in times. Okay. And he says, Trilokyam apinatena yena syanatha vattaram. So he has called out, each of these words are commented on, and I will tell you what the translation is, and then we will go through every single word. So Dasharath says, if Ram becomes the Lord of the 3 worlds, all the 3 worlds will have the best master because he is a very glorious man. That Ram alone is the fittest Lord for this entire kingdom, and he is the one who's endowed with all auspicious qualities. He is Lakshmivan, and he is Lakshmanagrajaha. So he calls out and he says, this is the person I am planning to crown. Now, each of these words are important because our acharyas say, first and foremost thing, he uses the word anarupa. Anarupa means when you see Ramachandra, you feel Anurupa, sorry. When you see Ramachandra, you feel very, very happy. Rama means one who gives pleasure. The minute you see the form of the Lord endows all happiness unto the onlookers, Anurupa. When you see him, your heart is very happy. So all the citizens will be very pleased when Ramachandra is crowned. Sa Vai Natho. Now this word is actually split in different ways, and it Sa, sa means he, Vai, Natho, he is the Lord, it means. But Lord of whom? You can understand it to be the Lord of Vainata. Vainata is Garuda. So the Lord of Garuda, that is one meaning that the Acharyas say. The other meaning they say is Sa Vainatho means the Lord of the person who sits on a swan. Okay. So because Vai means also swan. So the Lord of the person who sits on a swan, or the Lord of the person who, the Lord of the bird, the Vainata bird, the Lord of the eagles. So he says, Anurupaha sa Vainatho. Now this is indicative that it is Rama only, and Ram is non-different from Vishnu. So he will be the best of rulers. And is this Ram just the lord of some demigods who are there, maybe Brahma or the great eagle Garuda? No, it is just not that. He is endowed with all auspicious qualities because he is Lakshmi-van. He is not only blessed by the goddess of fortune, he is in fact the husband of the goddess of fortune. Here it may appear that Dasharath is telling that he is endowed with wealth, or he is endowed with all auspicious qualities. He is endowed with Lakshmi. But actually, the meaning is that he is the husband of the goddess of fortune. Goddess of fortune is serving his lotus feet. And that person is Lakshmana Agrajaha. He is the one who is the older brother of Lakshmana. And the meaning of Lakshmana is Lakshmana Lakshmi Sampannaha, the one who is endowed with Kainkarya Lakshmi, the one who is endowed with the Lakshmi of servitude. But the one who is endowed with the Lakshmi of servitude, whom is he serving? He is serving his elder brother. So that is the Rama that I am going to call out. So Rama here is mentioned as Lakshmanagrajaha Lakshmivan, one who's endowed with all Lakshmi or all Shri, and one who's served by Lakshmana, who's endowed with the Lakshmi of servitude. Okay. Then he says, Trilokyamapi nathena yena syanata vattaram. So he is the only one, he's the only one who can become the Lord of the three worlds. Of course, Lord Vishnu is the Lord of the three worlds, and that Vishnu is not different from Rama. And here, Dasharatha, in a very poetic way, he's telling that he is the only one glorious person who is the fittest to be the Lord of the three worlds, and I want to give him the kingdom. So now when the citizens, they heard this beautiful statement of Dasharatha, which has been commented so heavily by the commentators, the citizens were very, very, very happy. So they all got up and they started applauding the statement. Everybody stood up and clapped, so much so that the entire assembly was reverberating. Okay, imagine if hundreds and thousands of people are clapping, the entire assembly was reverberating, and it was appearing like all of these people, they were like peacocks dancing when the rain is about to come. So when they see a thick rain cloud, how the peacocks dance, like that, there was so much happiness in the eyes and in the body language of all the people. So all the citizens, they said, "Oh, King, you are an elderly person. You're quite old now. So it's better. You have lived for thousands of years. It's better you actually retire now. Please do this as soon as possible. Please inaugurate Rama as the ruling prince. And in fact, we have been waiting for this day when you would tell this news to us." So like how the thought is running in all of your mind, the way the citizens are expressing that you're very old, it's high time you retire. Were the citizens really unhappy with Dasharath's rule? It's not like that. So Dasharatha, he asks, "Oh, are you really not happy with me?" He also asks this question. And then he asks, "Do you really want me to step down so immediately that the minute I said Rama, all of you are so excited and you're telling me you're old, you step down?" So at that time, the citizens clarified. They said, "No, ichchamo hi mahabahum raghuviram mahabalam gajena mahatayatam ramam chatravranat vrithananam." So they say, "Ichchamo," it's not like that. You have been ruling us very nicely, but we have had this desire for a very long time. Just as Dasharath Maharaj had a desire to see Rama wearing the crown, similarly, the citizens also, the loving citizens also had this desire. Ichchama. No one can stop desire, right? They had a very strong desire. But is desire alone enough to have a king, to have a capable king? No, they say Ichchamo. Yes, we are all desiring. He, in fact, Mahabahum Raghuviram. This Ramachandra that we are desiring to have as our crown prince is Mahabahum. He's the one with long arms and he's capable of protecting us. He is, in fact, a very, very capable king. Raghuviram. It's not enough if that person is very strong and he's just able to protect citizens. First and foremost thing, our desire is there. Secondly, when we see this person in front of us, whom we are desiring to be the king, that person has very strong arms. He's able to protect us. But that alone is not enough. He is Raghuviram. He is the one who's come in your dynasty. You are a great king. You have ruled us for 60,000 years. And it would be appropriate for you to pick a person from your glorious dynasty, the dynasty of the Raghus, such a glorious solar dynasty. So this Ramachandra, he also comes in the same dynasty. Now, is it enough if he's just he's got this Bhujabala and he's able to protect the citizens and he comes from a royal family? Is that just enough? No, he's also Mahabalam. Already they said Mahabahu. Mahabahu means one who can protect with his physical strength. Now, again, they say Mahabhalam. What is this Mahabhalam? This Mahabhalam is Manobhalam. That's what the commentators write. They say not only has he got physical strength, he is also very, very strong mentally. A king has to be very strong mentally. He should be able to handle reversals. He should be able to handle emergencies within the flick of a finger. He should be able to take care of big situations and take big decisions. So Lord Ramachandra also has Mahabalam, not just ordinary Mahabalam. It is Mahobalam, Manobalam. And the citizen said, this is what we often imagine. We often imagine Gajena Mahatayantam Ramam Chatravratananam. What we see in our dreams from time to time is Lord Ramachandra sitting on a big elephant as the king with all the royal paraphernalia and a beautiful white umbrella to cover his head. So those days when the kingly prince or even the king, they would pass by in the city's large roads. At that time, they would pass on a big elephant and all the people would offer obeisances unto them. So like that, the citizens were telling, this is our dream. We often dream, we daydream that one day Lord Rama will ascend the elephant and he'll walk and the elephant will walk through the roads and we'll be able to see this beautiful sight of Ram sitting on the elephant protected by a white umbrella on top. So why white umbrella? Because it will protect him from the scorching heat. Not only that, it is said that the face of a ruler or a great personality is somewhat like the shape of a umbrella. That means it is broad and it is round. That is the Samudrika Lakshana for a great emperor. Okay. It is interesting that Samudrika Lakshana means it's a book that is written by Samudra Raja. Samudra Raja is the lord of the oceans. So he has written a book by the name Samudrika Lakshana, which talks about the physical characteristics of a person, how it should be. So Samudra Raja's daughter is Lakshmi, right? Because Lakshmi comes from the churning of the milk ocean. So Samudra Raj, when he wanted to write Samudrika Lakshana, he had a role model for the woman, perfect woman and perfect man. So for the perfect woman, he chose his daughter, and for the perfect man, he chose his son-in-law. So here, there is an indication that according to Samudrika Lakshana, the person's face, who's actually going to be the emperor of the universe, would have a face that is broad, at the same time somewhat rounded. Okay. Like the shape of an umbrella. So that's why it is mentioned here, Chatravratananam. So the face that is covered by a white umbrella. So it's only indicator that he's not only capable physically, he's not only capable mentally, but he's also very pleasing to the eye. He looks like the perfect person that is described in Samudrika Lakshana. So that's how the citizens describe the beauty of Lord Ram, the glory of Lord Ram, the strength of Lord Ram and the capability, the mental capability of Lord Ram. So they say this is our desire. So having said that, they describe another set of virtues. So initially we saw in the beginning of Ayodhya Kand a list of verses that were talking about the great qualities of Ram. Now the citizens began to narrate these qualities. Now it was Dasharath who was instigating the citizens to give answers to his question. Oh, why? What do you see in Ram? Why do you want me to step down right now? You are not happy with my rule. So Dashrath asks all these questions so that he can instigate the citizens and the people who had assembled there to chant the glories of Ram. So with his own ears, Dashrath was so happy to hear the glories of Ram. Now it is also a tradition that the father will never glorify the son directly face to face. So you see, even now in most Indian families, it is not a trend that the father, he glorifies the son very easily. But the father is very happy when others glorify the son. Of course, in today's world, after a lot of influence of the Western culture, it's become very important to encourage your children face to face. Tell them you're the best, nobody can be like you, and so on. But traditionally, in those days, the father would not glorify them face to face, but he would become very happy when someone else glorified the son. So, like that, Dashrath was very happy when he heard the citizens say that Ramachandra, he speaks in a very gentle way. He always works in a way that is beneficial to others. Very sweet, he sees other problems as his and others' happiness as his. We say Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. Even the Lord is also paradukha dukhi, parasukha sukhi. So that is the quality of the Lord as well. So hearing another list of qualities that were all chanted by the people, Dasharath was very, very happy. And they list a huge list of virtues, and they tell that your son is indeed the best person and he should be crowned immediately, not just because it's giving happiness to you or a bunch of people here, but it is going to be beneficial for the entire world. So they say that. And once all the citizens speak like that, Dasharath accepts their plea with folded palms and very, very happy mind. He has a big smile on his face. And immediately he calls for Vasishta, Vamadev, and others who are his ministers and Rajaguru. He calls all of them and he tells them that I want to crown Rama very soon. So he says, first of all, this is the glorious and auspicious month of Chaitra. Chaitra is the spring season. Summer to, spring to summer transition. That period is Chaitra Mas, around April, in which he says the forests bloom with flowers. So it's a very beautiful month. Even now in spring, you see all the forests and the plants in our house, they are all blossoming with flowers. So he says, let all the arrangements be made for the coronation of Lord Rama as the prince during this time, during Chaitra Mas. It was already, Chaitra Mas was the month that was going on at that time. So he said, since the month is a very beautiful month, let the coronation of Rama happen very, very soon. Okay. And when he said that to Vasishta, Vamadev, and others, there was a great encouragement by the people in the assembly. There was a huge uproar of all the people. Now, why did he choose this month? Why did he want to do it in Chaitra month itself? So the answer is given in because of 5 different reasons. And all the 5 reasons are actually the same reason, but it is described in 5 different ways very poetically. So Chaitra, April, is considered the first of all months. Even now, you all know that in the calendar, technically, our be it the Western calendar or the Indian calendar, we begin with Mesha, right? Mesha Rasi, and then we go on. Mesha is April. And then you go on to, from Mesha, it is Mithuna, then it is Kataka, and so on. So, like that, the month is like that. Even in ancient times, till many years ago, also, the year would begin with April, actually. That's why today, April 1st is April Fool's Day. Because why did that day becomes Fool's Day? Because later, the beginning of the year was shifted to January. So when people would go back to April as the beginning of the year, they would say, oh, they would tell, oh, you got fooled. Huh? You thought it is the beginning of the year. So actually, April is the first month of any year, be it in any calendar. Traditionally, April is the first month. So this Chaitra Masa is the first of all months. So it is very suitable that Ramachandra, who's the first of all men, who's the leader of all men, is crowned in the Chaitra Mas. Reason 2. Ramachandra, he gives pleasure to all as the king. That is, if he becomes the king, he will give happiness to everybody as the king. He's the perfect king. Similarly, Chaitra Mas is considered as the king of all months. Okay, just like how Pushya is considered as the king of all nakshatras, similarly, Chaitra is considered the king of all months. So, if Ramachandra being the king, if he's going to give pleasure to everybody, then it is appropriate that this king is coronated on the king of all months. Another reason, this Chaitra Mas was the time when Lord Ramachandra was born. So the day all this conversation is happening is on the Punarvasu Nakshatra day. This particular conversation, where Dasharath having a feeling that he wants to crown his son, and he's calling on everybody, and he's expressing his feelings. All this is happening on Punarvasu Nakshatra, which is the birthday of Lord Ram. Okay, because the next day he wanted to coronate him on Pushya Nakshatra. Pushya is the next day, which is Bharata's birthday. So this month is also the birth month of Lord Ram. So it is very wonderful. Chaitra Mas only should be chosen. Second, this month is Punya Mas, meaning it is the month where it's considered a very purifying month. Anything that you do in this month is considered very purifying. Like you can take vratas, you can do many auspicious activities during this month. So Ramachandra, who's the greatest of all purifiers, the presence of Ram itself is so purifying. So it will be appropriate if Ram is crowned during this month. This is the fourth reason. The fifth reason is it will be beautiful if Ram wears the beautiful crown with flowers, flowers of being the king on this month, because the entire month is decorated. The world is decorated with many flowers during this month. So Rama will wear the crown. The flowers in this month are like crowns on the plants. So there are flowers that is blooming everywhere, and these flowers are like the crowns on the plants. Similarly, when Ram wears the crown, it will be appropriate if he wears the flowers with the crown on this month of Chaitra. So like that, 5 reasons are given by the Acharyas why Chaitra Mas was so important and why it has a connection with Lord Ram. In fact, not only in Ayodhya Kand, but in the future sections also, you will see a very key role in Chaitra Mas. Everything will begin in Chaitra Mas. His going to the forest, his return, everything actually happens. His birth, everything happens in Chaitra Mas. It's a very important month as far as Ramayana is concerned. So he tells, I want to crown him right away in Pushya Nakshatra. Tomorrow Pushya Nakshatra will come. I want to crown him. And then he gives orders immediately to Vasishta, Vamadev, and everybody else, so that they can give orders to others to procure ingredients for the ceremony, because they were the Raj Rishis in that kingdom. So they were responsible for conducting the ceremonies. So they were told that as soon as possible, all the ingredients must be collected for the ceremony. And lots of donations were given to the Brahmanas, and there was worship going on in the temple, and orders were given everywhere. All the citizens got to know very soon that Lord Rama would be coronated as the prince. Then Dasharath, he speaks to Sumantra, who is his minister as well as his charioteer. He said, ask Ramachandra, who is very, very disciplined in his intellect and behavior, to be brought here immediately. So he sends order to ask for Lord Ramachandra to come. Why? Because Ram doesn't know the news yet. So the people from nearby places have been called, and they were all told the news immediately. Okay. But then Ram himself doesn't know the news. So he tells Sumantra, please go to Ram's palace and bring him in a chariot. So Ram was brought in a chariot by Sumantra, and he begins to step up through all the different steps that were there in the palace. And he came into the assembly. He walked in front of his father. He entered the assembly and he goes close to his father. He pays dandavats. He bows down to his father. He gets up, he folds his palms, and holding his ears, he does abhivadaye. This is there in Ramayana. Abhivadaye means introducing oneself. So it is a tradition again in ancient times that when boys would see superiors like their father or any superior who's equal to their father or guru, the tradition was to introduce themselves formally. They would say, for example, Lord Rama was from a Kshatriya family. So he had to say, I am Dasharatha Rama Varma. Varma is for Kshatriya. So he has to introduce himself, holding his ears like that. He has to say, I come from this dynasty. I come from Surya Vamsha. This is my father's name. My name is so and so. And this is my Kula. This is my Gotra. Like that, he has to introduce himself. It was a tradition. Whenever you see elders, you not only offer obeisances, you also make an introduction of yourself. So he goes and he offers this abhivade to his father. Even now, you can see many people, they offer abhivade under different circumstances. So he goes and he asks his father why he was called. Dasharath, he immediately embraces his son and he offers a throne, a beautiful throne, not his throne, but another throne that is there for the prince. He offers that throne and he asks Ram to sit there, and he was gazing at the beauty of Ram. And as far as Dasharath was concerned, Dasharath was feeling that he's seeing his own reflection because Ramchandra was looking like the king already in the eyes of Dasharath. So he says, Oh Ram, you have such good qualities and the people like you so much. So very soon I want to crown you as the prince on the day of the Pushyami star, which was actually the next day. So when the moon joins with the constellation of Pushyami. So why Pushya? As I mentioned earlier, Pushya is considered as the king of nakshatras. It is coronation ceremonies are generally chosen to be on Pushya nakshatra. It's very auspicious. Just like how we were discussing earlier, that Uttara nakshatra was very good for marriages. Right, Uttara Falguni, that is what we saw, was the time when Ramachandra got married to Mother Sita. So, like that, certain nakshatras are appropriate for certain tasks. Throughout the Ramayana, astrology is a key thing that keeps showing up in almost every other chapter. It is one of the themes in the Ramayana. Astrology is one of the themes. So you will see these different constellations and days and dates, choices of time, all that being detailedly discussed. So here, Pushya Nakshatra was chosen. And Dasharath says to Lord Ram, you have to hereafter remember to always continue to be virtuous. See, all this while, Ramachandra was displaying virtues in various ways. The citizens were very happy. Dasharath himself heard the glories of his son from the mouth of the citizens. He had everything. He had very good habits. But still, as a responsible father, Dasharath had to give appropriate advice, like any other father advises his son. Now, Dasharath was giving a very big responsibility to Rama. So he said, hereafter, ensure that you keep all bad habits out of your way. You should keep desire and wrath out of your way. You should always remain humble. So these are important advices that a father gives his son. And especially because Lord Rama would be crowned as the prince and eventually as the king, he already begins to train Rama. He tells Rama, you should keep away from 7 faults of a king. What are the 7 faults of a king? The first fault is desiring for others' wives. There is a very common fault that is seen in many kings. They like to go and capture others' wives for their enjoyment. Second, gambling. Gambling, though is sanctioned for Kshatriyas, gambling can become an addiction. So he says, keep away from gambling. 3, hunting beyond rules. Hunting is also sanctioned for Kshatriyas, but do it in a limited way as per rules and regulations. 4, drinking. Don't unnecessarily get intoxicated. 5, giving excessive punishments. Just because we have power, sometimes we show favoritism. Sometimes we don't like somebody. We like to punish them severely. So never do that. Do only what is righteous. So giving excessive punishments is also sometimes seen as a fault of a king. So he says, keep away from that. 6, using wrong words. Just because we are in power, we like to blaspheme everybody. Like you see the story of Duryodhan, he was using wrong words to his elders as well. Like, for example, he did not treat Vidura properly. So, like that, a king may become so proud, or a prince may become so proud that he thinks that he is greater than superiors around him. So, using wrong words is another flaw of a king. 7, using government money inappropriately. So, because the king has access to all the wealth of the government, sometimes the king tends to get overboard. He becomes overboard with the money. Like we see even today, all the ministers, they like to hoard the money and use it inappropriately. They misappropriate all the wealth and they start using it for their own family expenses. So, like that is another flaw of a king. So he tells him these 7 faults naturally come in a king, and you should be very aware to keep away from these 7 faults. And he gives him a good advice, and he tells very soon you will be getting the kingdom on Pushyami star, and he's happy. He's told his son. How was Ram's expression at this point in time? It was very neutral. He was not very excited or he was not sad, nothing. He was just very neutral. He said, okay, whatever you desire. And this message was given to Kausalya, and Ram returned to his palace. Then, when Dasharath he retired, for that day, for that particular day, he goes back home to relax, to his palace to relax. At that time, he started thinking. He was thinking, tomorrow is Pushya, so I have to call my son again and give him further instructions. So again, he calls Sumantra and he tells, bring Rama from his palace. I want to talk to him. At this point in time, Dasharath was somewhat worried. So he had decided that the next day he would give the kingdom to Rama, but something was bothering him. What was bothering him? He calls Rama and he tells Rama, my dear son, of late, I'm seeing a lot of bad dreams. That means he was getting close to death, actually, Dasharath. So he's telling, I'm seeing a lot of bad dreams. I see some fearful comets in my nakshatra. I see my nakshatras attacked by Mars, Rahu, Surya, and other Ugra planets. So these 3 planets, Mars, Rahu, and Surya, are considered as Ugra Graha, meaning if they are going to come close to your nakshatra, then a lot of calamities can happen in that person. Okay. So he says that Jyotishas have been coming and telling me that Mars, Rahu, and Surya are attacking my nakshatras. And not only that, in my dreams, I'm seeing comets in the sky. Sometimes when you see comets, it's considered inauspicious. And he was seeing a lot of bad dreams. So somehow he felt something wrong is going to happen. So he wanted to ensure that before anything drastic happens, his son actually gets the princely kingdom. So he tells, tomorrow I am going to perform your crowning ceremony. And in fact, people generally, they don't have a steady mind. He tells about himself also. He says, I have to do it tomorrow. I cannot postpone this because even I am a king and I may not have a steady mind. People around us may not have a steady mind. We might have all unanimously taken a decision today, okay, along with the ministers and the nearby kings. But anything can happen. Suddenly, overnight, somebody else may come up, may think, oh, why is Ram getting the kingdom? And he may attack us. So anything can happen. So we should do this quickly. We should get you crowned immediately. So Dasharath, he gives another instruction to Rama. He says, my dear Ram, with self-control, along with your wife Sita, you should begin to observe a fast from the night itself. Because the next day was the coronation ceremony, means from now itself, you should start fasting. And not only that, tonight you will rest on a couch that is made of kusha grass. So when you take a vratha, it's not that, at least traditionally today, I don't know what we do, but in those days when they take a vratha, they would not eat and they would only lie on kusha grass bed. They would not lie on cushions or on nice beds. So they would just lie on grass mats. So he tells you and your wife, you have to take a vrata. Immediately you sleep on a couch that is made of kusha grass tonight. And not only that, I definitely, since I have made this big announcement and the news is spreading far and wide, there will be a lot of obstacles. There'll be a lot of kings who are jealous and they might attack you suddenly in the night. So I will ensure that you are guarded properly, and you also tell your friends that they should all guard you vigilantly from all directions as you while you and your wife Sita, you both rest tonight. So in the night, you have to be very, very vigilant. And he tells one more interesting thing, Dashrath, at this point in time. He says, actually, I want to coronate you before Bharata comes. He says this. Why does he say that? He says that because he's a little scared. He's a little scared that long time back, he had made a promise to Kaikeyi. And Kaikeyi he had actually made a promise to Ashwapati at one point in time that I will ensure that the son born from your daughter's womb will get the kingdom. Okay, long time back. He was a little worried, but having seen the wonderful qualities of Rama, he actually wanted to crown only Rama. Not only that, in the traditional way of the Surya Vamsha, always the elder son got the throne. So there were many reasons why Dasharath only wanted Rama to be crowned. But still, he was a little fearful. For some reason, he was reminded of certain obstructions that could come. Maybe Bharata could say, I want the kingdom. So he had this thought in his mind, but immediately he says, but I know Bharata is very righteous. He immediately tells Dashrath Maharaj, he says, I want to coronate you before Bharat comes, but I know Bharata is very righteous. He's very compassionate and he's got his senses under control. And in fact, once you are crowned as king, he's not going to come here and obstruct anything because he's a very sensible boy and he's my son. Okay. So actually, Dasharath was having a network of emotions that were running in his mind. At one point in time, he was thinking, what if Bharata comes? What if Bharata is here? Then I'll be obliged to give the kingdom to him. But now, when Bharata is not there and I crown you, later when Bharata comes, Bharata will never obstruct because Bharata is an abode of great qualities. So, like that, he was having all these thoughts and emotions, and he actually blurts out saying that I want to coronate you before Bharata comes. And because sometimes, you never know what will happen the next day. And then he dismisses Ram's presence. He says, okay, now you can go. It's time you go rest. And Rama, he goes to Kausalya's palace for blessings first because the news wasn't told to Kausalya yet, right? Rama heard all this and he was told to enter into a vrata, but the news had not gone to his mother. So first he goes to Kausalya's palace and he tells Kausalya about the news. But before he goes there itself, already Sita, Sumitra, and Lakshmana were there in Kausalya's palace because they had heard the news. Lakshmana had heard the news. Immediately it went to Sita and Sumitra, and Sita, Sumitra, and Lakshmana. All of them, they went to Kausalya's palace. By the time Ram went to Kausalya's palace, he saw all of them. So at that time, when he entered the palace, he saw his mother Kausalya was meditating on Lord Vishnu with breath control. So she was a great devotee as well. She was a devotee of Vishnu. And when she just comes out of her meditation, Ramachandra himself gives the news to his mother Kausalya. So at that time, his mother blesses him profusely. So his mother says, oh, my child Rama, I pray and I wish that you live a very long life. Let all your enemies be destroyed, and let all the cousins of mine and that of Sumitra be happy by your glory. She was a very good friend of Sumitra, this Kausalya, because later also we will see when Ramachandra went to the forest. At that time, it was Kausalya. I mean, Kausalya was breaking down, but it was Sumitra who was actually giving strength to everybody. They both were very, very close to each other. So she knew very well that if her son was crowned, the first person to feel happy was Lakshmana and Mother Sumitra. So she says, let the cousins of mine and that of Sumitra be happy by your glory. And then look at the instructions the mother gives. Of course, the father said, yes, you have to enter into a vrata, you have to ensure protection, you should be the ideal king, you should keep away from the 7 vices of a king, and so on. But mother, she says, oh, my dear son, worship the lotus-eyed Vishnu with endurance. So when you worship the Supreme Lord, then everything, whatever you do, all your activities will be fruitful. And if you behave like this, if you're a good devotee of Lord Vishnu, this glorious kingdom of Ikshvaku dynasty will embrace you. So very similar to the instructions that were given by mother Suniti to Dhruva Maharaj, right? So like that, Kausalya also says, always worship Lord Vishnu. Actually, he's not different from Vishnu, but then Mother Kausalya's instruction. And then Ramachandra was very happy receiving the blessings of his mother. He turns to Lakshman because Lakshman was present there. So he's so happy to see his brother there. And he says, oh, my dear brother Lakshman, you rule along with me. Tomorrow, when I get coronated, we both will be together. So you also rule this earth along with me. And because you're my second conscience, that is, you're my reflection, you're my second conscience. So whatever has come to me, it has come to you also. If I have received this kingdom, then this kingdom is for you also. So that was the spontaneous reaction Ram had when he saw Lakshman. He said, let's share this kingdom. So like this, he speaks to his dear brother, and then he offers obeisances to both the mothers, both Sumitra and Kausalya, who are there in the same palace at that time. And then he looks at Sita, and both Sita and Ram, they obtained permission from the elders, and they went to their own palace, their house. And Sita and Ram were instructed to begin the fasting. And they were also told about several other rituals that they had to undertake early next day morning after sleeping. And meanwhile, instructions were given very quickly for the entire city to get decorated overnight. Okay, everything was getting ready by all the citizens. Now, what did after sleeping that day night, Rama and Sita, they slept on Dhruva grass. And next day when they woke up, what happened? So that is the verse here. Gate purohite Rama snato niyatamānasa sahapatnya visalakshya narayanam upagamat. So what did they do? Next day morning, they woke up early, both Ramachandra and Sita. They took a bath and they meditated on Lord Narayana with an undistracted mind along with his wife Sita. So basically, Lord Ramachandra and the wide-eyed Sita, Visalakshi. Visalakshi means one who's got wide eyes. So along with Visalakshi, both Rama and Visalakshi, both of them got up early in the morning. They took a bath and they meditated on a single focus on Lord Narayana. And after he meditated on Lord Narayan in his temple, in his personal temple, Rama, he ate the remainder of clarified butter after finishing the sacrifice which he performed. So every grihastha performs an Agnihotra ceremony or a sacrifice every single day. So that Agnihotra ceremony is performed by every single grihastha. Today, nobody performs sacrifices at home, but traditionally there would be panchagnis, 5 different agnis that would be burning in every single house if you're a married person. Okay, and that Agnihotra sacrifice, that Agni that comes into the house would come directly from the fire that is lit for your wedding ceremony. There is a fire that is lit and you all take vows, right? So the same Agni is taken and brought home, and it will be there in your house all your life, all your grasta life. And when we die, okay, at that time, the same Agni, the Agni it's never put off. The same Agni is taken to burn our body. That is the tradition, Vedic tradition. So that Agnihotra ceremony, when it begins with a marriage, that Agni from that marriage continues in our house every single day, and the same Agni is used to burn the body when we die. So Ramachandra, first he ate the remainder of the clarified butter from the Agnihotra sacrifice, and then he began to meditate on Lord Narayana along with a controlled mind. Now, this particular Narayana that is mentioned here, the Acharyas, they point out that the specific deity in Lord Ramachandra's house, in his palace that he was worshipping and he was meditating on and he was eating the remnants of, was from that of the deity of Ranganath. So today, the deity of Ranganath is in Sri Rangam, worshipped very gorgeously there. And this deity, as you all know, the history of the deity was that this deity was worshipped in Ayodhya for several generations. It was given by Brahma to Ikshvaku, and from Ikshvaku, it was passed down to the lineage of the kings in the Surya Vamsha. and the kings of Ayodhya worshipped Lord Ranganath, enshrined Lord Ranganath in their palace, and they would worship. So it was the personal deity of Lord Ram that he was worshipping. And this deity later, as you all know, was given to Vibhishan as a gift. And when Vibhishan was holding the deity and coming, uh, by the inconceivable desire of the Lord, he stayed back in Sri Rangam. So this was the deity they were asked to worship. So then, so having taken vows for this particular deity and finishing his Agnihotra sacrifice and all that, he asked the entire room and not only the room, the entire palace to be decorated very nicely. So generally it is the duty of the grastas to clean up the house and keep it ready, right? So like that, he caused the decoration of the house. He had woken up 3 hours before sunrise to perform all his morning activities. He wore silken clothes while he was worshipping Vishnu. Even to this day, all these procedures are followed, right? People wake up in Brahma Muhurta. When they worship deities, they wear silk or cotton clothes. So this is considered very pure. So all these little details are also mentioned in the Ramayana. And not only was the entire palace decorated, but also the entire town and city was decorated. Much before sunrise, all the decoration was done. So what kind of decorations were there? There were banners and colorful flags on the temples, and these were looking like silver lining in the cloud. And in every road junction, in big streets, in temple compounds, in watching towers on tops, in gates, everywhere, it was all decorated with flowers and flags. And all the assembly halls, the houses of rich people, visible trees everywhere, decorations were strewn in every single direction, just like we had the welcoming of Lord Ram in Ayodhya recently, and the entire city of Ayodhya was decorated. So like that, you can imagine that the entire city, in every nook and corner, every important place was decorated very gorgeously. There were dancers who were performing in different places, in all large halls and other gathering places, and people were meeting in many courtyards to talk, because everyone was discussing, oh, how did you decorate your house? Today is going to be the coronation of Rama. So like that, everybody, they were gathering in different places and they were talking. And little children, they were, while they were playing in the morning, they were chanting the glories of Ram, and they were playing. And the ladies had sprinkled nice scented substances at the entrance, and they had drawn beautiful patterns in the entrance of their house, and they had decorated the doorways very gorgeously. And very soon the news was spreading from one person to the other. So the entire city of Ayodhya was decorated very beautifully, and the people from the nearby villages, as they were hearing this news that it's going to be the princely coronation of Rama, people were coming from different places in huge bullock carts and wagons, and they were all getting ready. So everybody was coming, and the noise was increasing in the city, because groups and groups of people were coming from the nearby villages and towns, and people were moving hastily here and there, and it was looking like the roaring of an ocean on a full moon night. So when you have a full moon night, the waves of the ocean are really severe, right? So like that, there was so much noise because tons of people were coming. It's very much similar to what happened in Ayodhya recently when Ram Lalla was consecrated. At that time, so many people from all over, not only India, from all over the world had come, right? They had gathered in hundreds and thousands. So like that, everybody from the nearby places, whoever heard about the news, overnight people were crowding and they all came to Ayodhya. It was looking like Indra's heaven. It was looking like his own town. It was buzzing with activity. At that time, here comes the twist. Nyatidasi yato jata kaikaya tu sahokshita प्रासाद चंद्र संकाशम आरुरोह यदृच्छया. So Nyati Dasi means, you all know, a servant or a maid, but she was a Nyati Dasi. What is a Nyati Dasi? Nyati Dasi is a very close relative who functions as a servant. Not close relative, a far relative. Sorry for that. A far relative who also serves as a servant. That means she comes from the same family, but she's a far off relative and she was not well to do. So sometimes what happens if you're not very well to do, you don't have so much money, you will do some menial services. And sometimes when the girl of is the who's the princess is married away, a far relative also goes as a servant maid to the house of the girl or the princess. So that's what happened in the case of Kaikeyi. Mantara was her far relative who also served as a maid. So that was her role. Nyati Dasi. She was not an ordinary Dasi. Yato Jata Kaikaya. So the one who went along with Kaikeyi to Sahoshita from her birth, who was with her all the time, she was a relative. What did she do? Accidentally, she ascended the balcony. Okay. So in those days also, there were multi-storied buildings. Recently also I was watching some archaeological sites and excavations, and I was seeing these were excavated in India like 5,000, 6,000 years ago, and they were at least 4 or 5 storied building. Okay. So it was very common those days to have multi-storied building. But anyway, in this particular palace was where Kaikeyi was, this Nyati Dasi, this lady, she ascended the balcony. That is also another feature of ancient architecture. All the houses included balconies. Okay, so she goes to the balcony of Kaikeyi's white palace, which resembled the full moon. Her palace was so beautiful, it was pure white in color, and it was one of the most prominent palaces in the kingdom of Ayodhya because she was the favorite queen of Dasharath. So this servant maid, she went to the balcony. What did she see from the balcony? She saw clean sprinkled roads. Okay, everything was clean, and the city was decorated with so many flags and banners. All the roads were cleared of traffic. There were no traffic coming here and there. Everything was controlled. Just like even recently in Ayodhya, right? There were cops controlling traffic. There was no unnecessary traffic. And then people had taken head bath. They were very impeccably dressed. They were carrying flowers and sweets in their hand. The Brahmanas were chanting mantras. The gateways of the temples were completely nicely whitewashed. There were sounds of musical instruments in the morning and the chant of the Vedas that she could hear. Elephants and horses were loitering around very happily. They were decorated beautifully and they were taken like a procession. The bulls were very happy. They were making a roaring noise, and the citizens were all very delighted. And many citizens had gone on their rooftops, like as if they're going to witness a great event. So, seeing all this, Mantara, she asks another maid. Now, she is almost like the head maid, okay, because she's a relative. She has a special position. But then at this point, Mantara asked another maid who was dressed very gorgeously. She asks her, "Hey, what's happening here? Why are people so happy? And I saw some time back that Kausalya is giving away money. She's giving away like dan, to so many people. I have never seen Kausalya being so magnanimous, giving away money like this. So what's happening? Can you tell me what is it? Something special? Is something important happening for Kausalya? And why are the people so happy?" So when she asks like that, the maidservant who's been questioned like this, she says, "Tomorrow is the day of Pushyami star, and on tomorrow is the day of the Pushyami star, and Dasharath is going to anoint Rama the princely kingdom." So he's going to give Ramachandra the princely kingdom. So this is what is the reason why people are actually loitering around. So Manthara, when she heard this, that Rama is going to be given the princely kingdom, her heart started burning with envy and she goes to Kaikeyi. So we will stop here and we will continue from what Kaikeyi was told by Manthara. and we'll see how mantras manage to brainwash the mind of Kaikeyi in our next session. Okay. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I wish you would have continued.
I wanted to leave you like a cliff.
It was so nice. So one thing, Mataji, so this mantra, one night before only she went on the top of the building or the next day? Because
Even
again,
I,
it's tomorrow, this is Pushya Nakshatra.
it appears to be the. Actually, I don't know, Mataji. I want to clarify this, so please forgive me. I just copy pasted it. It's
Hmm.
my fault. I will check the commentaries and I will tell you why it is said tomorrow. Because earlier also it was said tomorrow, and Ramchandra was getting ready and he was
Hmm.
at the temple, he had finished his vows and all that. So why again she's telling tomorrow, that I will figure out and I will tell you, Mataji. It's my bad. I should have
No,
thought
no,
about
no, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But I was just curious to know that it's the same day or it was one day before.
one day before. Even I'm not too sure. Yeah, but I will check this. I will get this clarified. I will see through the commentaries, Mataji. Definitely an answer will be there. Yeah.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, if anybody has any realizations, any questions, please go ahead. It was such an absorbing session. I don't see anyone saying anything. Dear devotees, I hope you all are able to unmute yourself.
We are able to unmute and we are listening.
Yes, it was wonderful, Mataji.
Everybody was stunned or what?
No, it
No,
was
we're-
wonderful,
we are
Mataji.
stunned. We are stunned because of the story. And of course, she leaves us on a cliffhanger of all things. No.
Yeah, so thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji, if there are no questions and comments, then we can end up.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Right.
dear devotees. So hopefully from next week, we will resume to our Monday sessions only. Is it okay, Mataji?
Again, next week though is long weekend. I don't know how many people are going to be traveling or have other plans.
So should we keep it on Tuesday?
I don't know. I'm thinking because it's a long weekend, right? Should we do Tuesday or Monday is okay with everyone? If someone has plans, you can tell me. We can do it on Tuesday.
I think Tuesday would be a better time myself.
Yeah.
I'm not traveling. I'm not traveling myself. I'll be home, but I think it'd be better because most people leave on the long weekend before school starts.
Right. Okay. Then let's do it on Tuesday.
Let's do it on Tuesday. Okay. So thank you, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Mataji, for your excellent session. Let's pay obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhu pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Shri Ram Kanda ki jai, Har Krishna Vilasini Ji ki jai. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, dear devotees, I'm ending the call.